So I've been sick, which is why my students, you haven't had a lot of grammar homework lately, although you have had book work. So we're getting back at our grammar homework notebook today, finally. So go ahead and turn to where you left off. The last thing you wrote were 20 sentences, 10 starting with subordinate conjunctions and 10 starting with independent clauses. Okay, that's where you left off. Put a line underneath. Let's get started. Today we're going to discuss another conjunction. So far I've discussed coordinate conjunctions with you, but, or, yet, for, and, nor, so, the little ones. I've discussed subordinate conjunctions with you. Subordinate conjunctions, I hate and I abhor. There's after, although, as, because, and before, if, provided, since, unless, until, then, whenever, wherever, while, where, when. And I taught you that with coordinate conjunctions, you separate two independent clauses, a coordinate conjunction, and you need a comma before your coordinate conjunction. And I taught you with subordinate conjunctions, if you start with a subordinate conjunction, you will have a comma about halfway through your sentence, right before your independent clause starts. And that if you switch the order, and you start with your independent clause and you end with your dependent clause, you no longer have a comma. And if you are totally lost listening to this explanation, then you need to go back and watch the videos again to get you up to speed. Moving on, here's what we're going to start with today. Conjunctive adverbs, third type of conjunction. Conjunctive adverbs. Okay? And we're just going to call them CA, lowercase, like California abbreviation. CA, lowercase. Okay? First of all, here's the structure, the format of the sentence. You're going to have an independent clause, and you're going to have a semicolon, and you're going to have a conjunctive adverb, and a comma, and another independent clause. Okay? You start with an independent clause, a sentence that can stand by itself. You have a semicolon, colon, then you have a conjunctive adverb, and then you must have a comma, and then you have another independent clause. Those two independent clauses relate to each other in some way. So that's key. Okay? So here we go. Let's start listing them. They're your big words, those big fancy words that you never use nowadays, but they sound great in essays. Words like therefore. Okay, I gotta look at my list to keep you guys on the same page. Yes. Thus. Thus. Hence. Make sure you're writing these if you're in my class. Therefore. Thus. Hence. Can you think of any others? How about consequently? And another one we use hardly ever, accordingly. Okay? So there are a ton, and we're not going to go over all of them today, but I'm going to hit some major ones. Therefore, thus, hence, consequently, and accordingly, they are all synonyms, basically. They all mean the same thing. And they all translate to the word so, or more commonly put, as a result. That's what they mean, right? I woke up late, comma, so I got to school late, right? Let me write that. And you write it too. I woke up late, so let's make it different. I missed the bus. I missed the bus. I woke up late, comma, because that's an independent clause, and so is this. I missed the bus. That's an independent clause. You have your little coordinate conjunction in between, so you have a comma, right? Now, that means as a result, I missed the bus, correct? So in place of it, you can change this to a semicolon, right there, and then put one of these words. Thus, comma. You must have a comma, remember, comma. I missed the bus. Let's make sure you can read that. All my scribbling. Okay, I woke up late, semicolon. Thus, comma, I missed the bus. You could put any one of these in there, and it would fit. I woke up late. Consequently, comma, I missed the bus. I woke up late. Hence, comma, I missed the bus. Couple things to remember. You never capitalize after a semicolon. That's why I wrote this in lowercase, just to remind you. This is one sentence that you are writing. One sentence. So you will not capitalize after a semicolon ever, unless it is a proper noun, unless you're supposed to capitalize it, okay? But here's the format. Semicolon, conjunctive adverb, comma. Don't leave that comma out. Don't leave the semicolon out, okay? Do not change that to a comma. Semicolon, big word, comma. Got it? 2 complete sentences on either side. Let's talk about some other ones. How about we do the and words? Moreover, that's a fancy word that you never use, right? Moreover, additionally, you know what that word is, but you don't use it very often, do you? Additionally, what's another one? Furthermore. Furthermore, and even the word further, although it means the same thing as furthermore, it's just shorter. These guys, moreover, additionally, furthermore, and further all mean and, okay? It means in addition, right? Additionally. So, you know, anytime you want to add something, goodness, like he never pays attention in class, he never does his homework, and he never, never does his classwork. Semicolon. Furthermore, when he is in class, he just listens to his iPod. Okay, so it means in addition to all this, this also happens. So these are your addition words. These are your as a result words. And then you have your on the contrary words, okay? So the on the contrary is, there's a couple. How about we end with those today? That sounds like a good plan, right? Okay, so you have therefore, thus, hence, consequently, and accordingly. Moreover, additionally, furthermore, further. Let me add one more. How about I add, also, that's an easy one. Also, okay? So now you have 10, and you know what they mean. Here's your assignment. You are going to write 10 sentences following this pattern. You must have 2 complete sentences that relate to each other, and you must say complete sentence, semicolon, conjunctive adverb, one of these words, comma, and another complete sentence. Okay? Does that make sense? You got to do 10 of them, one for each of these. Remember, these all mean as a result, and these all mean, like, in addition to the first statement, the second statement also. Okay? So do that for homework, and you are done for the day.